Welcome. This is Barry Jones from the Angel School, and we're here for our weekly angel reading for November 25th through December 1st, 2019. So let's take a moment to take a deep breath and to just let go of anything that's looping, is the word I just saw, on your mind right now. And just to allow yourself to be centered and to be nurtured within the beautiful light of your heart flame. And just allow any and all things to be consumed by the flame of your soul. Any little details, any things that just keep coming up for you. This looping. You give me a sense that you have these concerns or worries that are like a news feed, like in the news where there's those news channels where they just keep looping, repeating the important updates throughout the day. And this is very toxic, actually, to be drawn to this kind of information in that style, because it sort of mimics the ego. And maybe for some of us, where we do just keep playing news or channels like this, is because it maybe give you a sense of comfort. Like, I know some people like to have these things running while they're doing work, or around the house, or if they're working from home for the day, like they just want to have it going, and it's mimicking the ego. Except that what you're doing, and the reason the ego is satisfied, is because it's all the things that you think you should be concerned about. And what it does is, it keeps showing me a mailbox. And what it does is it overrides the time that you need, the silence, the time for reflection, to hear the messages from your soul. And your soul has its own feed, but that information is to guide you, to help guide you in the right direction. In the right direction is the direction where you find the most fulfillment, the most joy, the most opportunity from life, and from the things that you're passionate about, the things that you love. And there's this sense that we pay attention too much, too often, to details that are not important. And what this does is that if it's in your work or whatever you're trying to focus upon, and I find it interesting that in my meditation, before this reading, I knew it was going to have something to do with this. I can't, believe that I still am surprised by what goes on in a meditation before I do a reading, because it always has something to do with the reading. But during the reading, during the meditation, I kept, having these sort of dreams or thoughts, daydreams, so to speak, of different scenarios of things going on around the world that, that concern people, and just feeling distracted by that. So sometimes your meditation, when you're intending to meditate and to clear your mind, and you may have experiences like this, and if you're already somewhat good at the meditation to what you think is satisfying for you in a meditation, and things like this occur, then this is information, this is a message. And so in this week, we really have to not get caught up in these loops. And they're writing the letter T, which is my symbol for trust, and that we have to trust our inner voice, trust our instincts against whatever's looping. So I just feel like whatever's going to be looping out there, it's been done to manipulate and distort your own connection, your own frequency. And so this is about bringing something else from my meditation, my personal meditation, which is different from the meditations I do for this. But I saw the top of the tree, and it was the first time, I saw all the branches from the top. And, for everyone that I get this kind of energy reading for, I'm usually given this by the angels, but they focus on the trunk of the tree because it's showing me whether the person needs to work on their connection. And usually the session, of all the things that come up, it helps to expand that connection, especially when the trunk is really thin. Some people come with a very broad, wide trunk. And that just means that they're just really able to channel so much of their own inner being's wisdom. But that we saw this focus from the top, and everybody has a full higher consciousness. Nobody's higher consciousness is deficient. I never see that, but they showed that today. And I think what this looping does is that it disconnects everyone from trusting in their intuition. And so we really have to be mindful of the influence that the looping, whether it's news or just things that you're fixated on, be aware that that is sort of disrupting access to the answers and the love they're writing right now in front of me. The love that the universe has for you, and all the ways that the universe wants to nurture you, and that you can be nurtured through this connection. So it's very important that in this week that you make yourself aware of what you're doing, what you're creating, and to turn off the media if necessary, or to distract yourself from things that you're worrying about. And I get a sense, again, these are things that you just do automatically. And especially around this time of the year, don't be afraid to simplify things for yourself. If these thoughts are really pushing you and stressing you out, or you're feeling very stressed and anxious, then take time. This is an indication that you need to take time for yourself, that you've been giving too much attention to the external and not enough attention to your inner voice. Listen to your body. I was at a restaurant last night, and I just noticed as I looked at the menu that certain things, like I just had this feeling like, like something's off. And it was that my body was just giving me clear signals that what it needed in order to be at its best. And I just followed that for the whole thing. It was so strong. It was subtle, but it was strong because it was, guidance is very subtle, because it's not supposed to dictate. And so it's always gentle as a voice. but it at least lets you know what your options are, or let you know what your strengths are, or where something will be favorable for you over another. So there was nothing wrong with the menu or the food, because when everybody else had ordered, it came out and it smelled great. But it was just that my intuition, my guidance was just guiding me in different directions. And so this is important for us to be aware of those subtleties and to follow them. Just trust them. And as you do this, you'll be able to draw yourself out of the loop and into another state of illumination and clarity and well-being. So, I don't know, I'm seeing two things. I'm seeing like the word talkative. So this may be something where maybe you're spending a lot of time, on telephone or your cell phone, that people are calling you and they're just, taking up your time with a lot of, conversation. I want to say meaningless, but in terms of what your spiritual priorities are in that moment, it's not what you need to do. So you may need to let your answer machine or your voicemail pick up, and don't feel bad about not picking up the phone. You have to take that time if you're feeling like you just need time for you. If you're going to have a conversation, you want to have a conversation with your higher self right in that moment. Just these little things that you need to do to alleviate, the stress that you feel because you're feeling pushed for time and things of this nature. And I saw a hammock, which is just a symbol here for you to really take some time to relax. Take some time out. Whenever you can conceive of this being possible, go for it. Because it's showing me right now the trunk of the tree like almost razor thin, and that maybe you haven't been devoting to your spiritual practice the time that you normally would, in terms of meditation or whatever it is that you do, because it could be that there's a particular work that you do, like gardening, or it could be that you draw or things like this, or play music or whatever that allows you to just really feel, to relax and to just be. And I don't know why I'm seeing this, but I'm seeing it again twice. So I'm seeing something like about an earthquake. So, and I'm seeing I saw the angel number 5, which is about big, huge shifts and changes. And I saw the word judgment, going back and forth between earthquake and judgment. I'm not sure if this is symbolic or literal, but something could. I feel like there is some judgments that will be released as a result. So, the earthquake could be symbolic, as in a sort of a tower card moment. Or something opens up, or there's some kind of, it could be an explosive moment. It could be some kind of confrontation, or a clashing in some way, and feeling judged around that by someone else. And the thing is, they're writing out love, obviously, and that this may be a cry out for help. So just remember that this experience may be a cry for help from that other person. So yes, so we just have to kind of, sorry about that, I had just a little interruption there. So what they're showing me is, you know, to remember that this may be a cry for help for someone else, that that it's not about you. And they're showing me feet on the ground, and I almost feel like I can see the ground below the surface of the feet. So this is not an image I've ever seen before, but it's an indication of being grounded to me. But there's something else, like they show me like I'm seeing bedroom slippers. I'm seeing a woman with like pumps on, and the thing about it, she lifts, it's like the thick heel, and she lifted it up and just sort of slightly put it down. So it wasn't like an aggressive action, but when I see a pump like this, I think, well, I don't know if you call that a pump, because I'm not up on what you call women's shoes, but for me, it's sort of this sense where I get a sense of an attitude from this woman with this thick heel, and it goes between this person who seems like an older woman wearing, she's got like a robe on, and she's in house slippers, or it's either there's two different kinds I'm seeing. So maybe there's a relationship between a mother and daughter, or someone who's like a mother to this woman, a younger woman, and there is just some kind of trigger. Maybe I'm seeing that. Wow, it just feels like something personal, like a personal reading right now. But so when I see breast, this is my symbol for nurturing. But what I just saw was almost like the breast being wrapped, strapped down, so that you can kind of conceal the breast. So maybe this is someone who, maybe this is I want to say maybe a transgender person, or someone who's thinking about this process, and maybe they're not getting the support from a mother figure, or someone that they revere. So maybe there's some conflict there, but I don't know which one I saw first. So I don't know which side you would be on in this, but if there's someone out here who's going through this from either point of view, and just know that there's something else that's that's triggering this situation. Okay, so let's take a look at the. So we'll just all send together right now, just love and understanding and prayers for whomever may be going through this right now. And the only thing I can say about this topic, I had a client once talk to me about, two clients actually, within the same, it was either in the same day or within the same week, that their son was going through this transition. And I have to say that what has really been coming to me, especially in relationship to what's going on in our world, that this takes a great deal of courage. And I really think on a spiritual level that people who transsexuals are really, they not only represent courage for us in our spirit, but the courage to be who you know yourself to be within. And it's more about this for the rest of us in the world. I feel like it's reverberating a vibration that is a light of its own, a light of dimension, and a light that is a new facet of understanding, divine understanding about being true to ourselves. And so if this helps anyone who's in this situation, we look at it from our perspective about, well, I don't want to get into all of that, but what I want to just really point out is it's something much greater. It's a teaching. It's a huge lesson they're writing out to the rest of us, whether this is we know someone specifically in our lives or not, but that this is a beautiful contribution to the universal light, to the facet of God's love. It's the thing that all of us struggle with, no matter who we are, no matter the way we love or the way we feel about ourselves or all the other things, all the other labels. There's so many labels, and we try to fit these labels, into some kind of uniformity, and every soul is just so individualistic, and all this conforming is just so in opposition to who each one of us truly is. And we can learn from this the struggle that this must represent for people in this situation, but the courage to love in this way, the courage to be yourself, to be authentic, is a real lesson, an ascension lesson to all of us in the world right now. And it's something to think about, and to smile about, and to be a part, it's a privilege to witness this facet of love, of loving, knowing the courage to be ourselves, to love ourselves. Because when you are being yourself, that is loving yourself. And that takes courage. And that is a lesson that we all need to embrace. The lesson, the choice is individualized, right? That's so that is not something that everybody's going to embrace, that specific choice. But the spiritual choice is to be yourself, to have courage to be yourself. And that is what we need to embrace. So, all of this kind of fits in with all these things that we worry about, the looping that we do, is because on a higher level, on a higher self level, we keep being more concerned about the external rather than the internal. And it is not to say that we should ignore the external, but what it means is that we have to go within and listen to our inner voice of wisdom and get our assignment to contribute to the world, into helping solve those problems, meaning helping to establish or create solutions instead of just looping and spending a lot of our time being agitated and frustrated and complaining. And that's not really doing anything but adding more to that confusion. Okay, so let's take a look at the Archangel Oracle card for this week. And this card underneath already was somehow all the cards I, had checked them, but somehow this card flipped while I was shuffling. So it was meant to be here. And so I'm sure it's going to play into why they want it to be out kind of early, but I'll see where I'm guided as I go along. So we have Archangel Gabriel's card, leadership, coming back up for us again. And I have to put on my glasses. Yikes. And again, here we have this trumpet, and this is about sounding out, sounding the alarm of your truth. Listening to that voice, like that trumpet is like a voice from heaven, right? And so this really calls for us to listen to that voice, that your intuition. It's interesting that the trumpet is such a striking and loud voice of the instrument family, the brass family in general. And that this trumpet is used as symbolic in this call, the calling from heaven. And it's because that sometimes the noise that is around us, that's looping around us, is just sometimes we're so intense that we can't hear over it, and we need this trumpet. But also it represents for your inner voice the strength that you need to exercise your voice, your intuition over the noise, of this is going wrong, this is happening, et cetera, et cetera. So, and Archangel Gabriel, his name means the strength of God, and he helps with communication. So if you are trying to find the right words at a very difficult time, or there's a stressful situation and you need to speak your truth, you can call upon Archangel Gabriel to help you to deliver the message in a way that respects and honors your truth as well as the other person. And that's a difficult balance, but Archangel Gabriel can channel with you the love that will disseminate those words in a beautiful manner. So call upon him if you're finding yourself having difficulties expressing your point of view, or if you're having difficulties helping others to understand. And one of the key things is not to try to get people to change, but you just want to make sure that they are clear about, and you want to make sure that what you're trying to do is just be clear about where you stand, instead of trying to get somebody else to agree with you. If your point is to find a way to get people to agree with you, or to come or to give you a break, you're never going to win the argument, because your purpose is off. It's not achievable, and it should never be a desire that you aim for, because what you're doing is seeking validation, and the only validation is what you can feel within yourself. And so you just want to be clear with people about where you stand versus I need you to get me. So that you just, it's like, no, I just want you to be clear. This is where I stand, and that's all I have to say, kind of a situation. All right. So, all right, let's take a look at the cards for the week. And what I'm just feeling about this card and how it may play, this is a major arcana card too, is that, entanglements here, attachments. So we're really having to, with the devil, we're having to just sort of let go of those attachments, because what ends up happening is that it ends up owning you. You know, when you keep wanting in a conversation, when you keep using your voice, for example, to get people to understand you, to get people to trust you, or whatever it is that you want somebody to do, when you do that, you become the puppet on the string. And that's why you feel like that grab in the throat, you know, where your throat just, you feel like you get that lump in your throat and you're talking to somebody, and the more you talk, the more that lump grows in your throat, because you are, the whole time, you don't realize that you want them to approve of you. And they can't do that if it's not in their heart right in that moment. They're not open to it. And so the only thing you can really do is be yourself and let people know where you stand. And the way that you speak is, when you do it that way, when you're trying to let people know where you stand, you're just validating yourself. You're standing in your power. Like this person with the pumps on. It's like you're just standing in your power. You're just being true to yourself. You're not there. And you don't have to be mean or arrogant about this. It's just a fact. This is where I stand, and I know why I stand there, and I'm just letting you know. And you don't ever have to agree or disagree with me, for that matter. But just be aware of whatever the situation could be for you. You know, we think we're trying to get people to do something, and all you do is just string yourself up. And that's why that feeling where you just feel like you're, like when people are in an argument, you know, nobody's winning in the argument, and everybody's attached and everybody's a puppet in that moment, because that's why it gets out of control. That's why we feel like we don't have any control in that moment, because you're just stringing yourself up. Okay? So let's take a look at the card for the beginning of the week. All right, the Magician. And then what a great counterbalance to this, the Devil card, because here, this card is saying that you have all the power, that you can manifest whatever you want. You can open, you can open doors. Here, there's a vortex opening up as she just goes within and she focuses, and she's sitting on the ground or on something, and she's just focused on channeling this higher vision. That light that's coming down is, when we can go into our imagination and visualize, or just channel that wisdom or channel those solutions, and then believing in that moment, as we're believing and we're receiving that channel of information, you're already starting the process of drawing that to you, creating that into your life, into your reality. And all you're really doing is just having to just stay in the flow of that infinite potential. Once you receive it, you're in the flow of infinite potential, which is, I'm just sort of, you can see the figure 8 symbol there. And you're already in the flow. And all you have to do now is stay focused on those details that are coming to you, the inspired actions. And this will move you forward. This will, unentangle you from any kind of situation. So the thing is that you have to be very aware in this week that there's there's potential opening up for you in this week to really stand strong in your power and to lead by example. There's this sense that this leadership card also gives me a sense with the Magician card that people would just be drawn to you in this week. But there's this potential to sabotage, because if, maybe you feel the pressure of that, and this is maybe where you tend to get caught up and distracted, is because maybe you think to yourself, you start thinking about others' expectations of you, and then you start to wonder, can you live up to that? And then you start to think about all the ways that this could go wrong. And you're worried about compromising what you have, when the universe is saying, well, yeah, you have accomplished these things and you have this status, but now you're ready to move forward and do bigger things. And so, yeah, you're gonna lose, because you're gonna shift, you're gonna move into something else, you're gonna change, or it's gonna evolve for you, and you will have more than what you had before. But we often only think about the risks, and so that gets us sort of become a puppet on a string again, because we're focused on the external, we're focused on things that may or may not happen, and all that is triggered because of what others may think of you if you are perceived as having fallen, right? So this is something for you to really be aware of. Don't sabotage yourself. All right, let me just sort of tune in and see if there's anything specific before I move to the third card. But I'm just seeing a lamp, which is my symbol for enlightenment, and it was in front of a window that's kind of higher up, and the curtain was sort of blowing. So what this kind of tells me is that there are windows of opportunity, and the winds of change are blowing in too. So it's going to be subtle and gentle, and it's sort of like almost like it's brushing over your crown chakra. And so, pay attention to all the thoughts that you receive. All right. Now, this card has just had tremendous effect on me in thinking. And one of the things when I see this card, I don't know if you can see this, but the pentacle she's holding, it has a mandala on it, and that's being reflected on the ground beneath her. And this card has come from the readings as well, on daily card messages and personal readings for people, clients. And then the root is winding around her leg and her foot, and it's, rooting her. And so it feels like this is a situation where this card, the page is about new beginnings, new opportunities, exploring new opportunities. And this way, it feels like with this card that it's time for you to begin planting your roots, that commitment. You're afraid of the risks, but the thing is like the what if, what coulda, shoulda. You keep playing this over, pros and cons. What if I did this, and what ends up happening is you don't plant roots. So you're stuck in this loop of what ifs. And you never actually get anything accomplished because you're always afraid to take a risk. And this card is really saying you got to plant your roots first. You got to take you got to commit to this. Like an example, just to help you understand, like the tarot for me. So years ago, I started collecting, tarot cards and became interested in it. And I think it's almost been 19 years. And then I got spooked, not because of anything that happened while using the cards, but, I started to regress into my religious beliefs, and I thought, okay, so I just threw them all away. And then some years ago, I started, with Doreen's decks, I started using those, and then gradually my love for tarot just started expanding. So I have a lot of decks now, and I decided to take a tarot course with Biddy Tarot, and And I did it because I wanted to put a root down. And of course, I've been using it on the channel, but it wasn't the same as going ahead and studying. And it just meant that I was committed to it. I don't know if I really needed it, but it meant something to me to just put my roots down. And that just helps you to understand what I'm trying to explain here about this card. And it's there, you know, where you will start to grow the opportunities, you know, on this physical plane, whether it's if you're looking to expand, you know, grow a business, and, you know, you want to, you know, be successful and make more money. In order for things to happen in the physical world, to manifest, you have to put down roots. So you just can't keep, you know, getting lost in thoughts, afraid to listen to that inner voice, and just keep, you know, flying with the winds that are blowing around. You have to put down some roots here. So what I want everybody to really think about is, what is it that you keep saying, you know, I wish I could do this, or I'm going to do this someday, you know, when, and you keep putting conditions there. And what's going to help you to get used to being in your own power and less being strung up like a puppet, right, by others' expectation, is to go ahead and commit to it for you. When you do that, that's you saying, I'm here, I'm with you on this. All right, so let's take a look at the card that I've already pulled from the bottom of the deck. And boy, we have a lot of major arcana cards, and this is the Justice card. So we've seen the Devil card before from this deck, but this is the first time you're seeing the Magician and the Devil card. I'm sorry, the Magician card. So here we come back to that tuning in. You know, if you're feeling, I'm getting a feeling like if you've been feeling like, you know, life hasn't been good to you, kind of a thing, you know, that you've dealt with a lot of challenges and you didn't deserve them, that like you have this feeling like you haven't been justified in some way. And this is because you've, again, been living your life based on, you know, outward validation, outward expectations, that you've been setting your standards according to what, you know, is the norm or the agenda of, you know, the status quo, you know, in terms of society and all of that. And until you are ready to commit to yourself to discern. So this Justice card, you know, this justice, we're talking about justice for the soul, justice for you, in the sense that you start operating from within. You start really closing your eyes and paying attention to how you feel and how things resonate with you, and going with that. Like when I was, you know, looking through the menu, I wanted something, but my body gave me other indications and I went with it. And it felt good to go with that. So it's that kind of thing that you have to do for yourself, is just to really, really tune in, listen in this week, really close, go within, and discern that balance. You know, when you have anxiety, don't try to resist your feelings. So when you're having anxiety, this is all this means, or any kind of negative emotion. This is the first thing that you should think about and do. That you need to trim things down so that you can get back in touch with yourself, because there's a message there, and it's a subtle one. There's no telling you what to do, but it's just asking you to find the harmony that you deserve, the peace that you deserve, the joy and the happiness that you deserve, the hope. It's just all it's asking you. So do that first, and thank your anxiety, thank your frustration, your confusion for being so loud and obnoxious like a trumpet, but helping you to realize that your inner voice, your inner being, is kind and generous and compassionate, and that you have lost touch with that. You have you're out of alignment. It's like straying. You're driving on a lane, and when you hit that, when you go off the lane, you hear the little the rocks that are over there, and it wakes you up, and you get back on. And that's what these emotions are doing. And that is a process, part of this process of discernment, spiritual discernment, which is Justice card really for me points towards. So really focus on this in this week, and see where you're being asked to plant roots. Like in this week, we have this, the major pages or the court cards can represent personalities or attributes that we need to take on. And so in this week, try to take on the attribute of making a decision by planting your roots, committing yourself to something, to get you started, to get your business idea or whatever it is launched, to solve whatever problems you're having. If it's a financial problem, take one of those ideas you're being guided and run with it, commit to it. All right, so I send you lots of love and angel blessings, and I thank you for joining us here this week. And if you're looking for an angel reading, you can contact me at theangelschool.com, which you can find in the description box below. Don't forget to join us for the daily card messages. But of course, this week, since it's Thanksgiving and here in America, I will most likely be postponing the daily card messages for, if not the entire week, a part of the week. And we'll resume the following week. So I'll be making the video for next week early. I may post it early, but if not, I probably will post it early before I leave. So, and there may be an overlap into the following week where I don't have daily card messages because I'm going to be relaxing. So it won't be a full week, but it'll probably be partial of this week and partial of the next week. All right. So have a beautiful holiday season, and God bless you all.